Hey, how's it going, guys? So you might notice Stormwind's a little bit different right now. Check the world map for a second. There's no Northrend. There's no Outland. There's no Cataclysm. There's no Pandaria. What's going on here? Well, simply put, we're on the vanilla WoW server hosted by the Elysium project. So, for those of you who don't know, a while ago, Blizzard issued a DMCA takedown claim to Nostralius. Now, what Nostralius was they were a group that hosted vanilla WoW servers. So, to briefly explain private servers. So, MMOs are in constant states of development. They're constantly being added to. So, as you may expect, the game kind of changes. And that's kind of been a thing for WoW. WoW's been around for over 10 years. And there are so many expansions for the game that the game's undergone several overhauls, especially after its third expansion, Cataclysm, came out. So a lot of people, needless to say, have favorite expansions. They have favorite times when they played in WoW. A lot of people cherish vanilla. A lot of people feel that Burning Crusade is the perfect compromise. It's the ultimate way of playing the game. And bear in mind that you can still visit a lot of this content, it's just that how the game was tweaked and balanced is completely different now. It's been changed for pretty much every expansion. Not too severely at Burning Crusade, but when Wrath of the Lich King came out, the game, to many people, got a lot easier. So it's been a rocky ride, but a lot of people do have their favorite expansions, so a lot of people think, well, I mean, I really would like to play when the game was like this. Of course, the problem is that Blizzard doesn't offer that solution. They don't offer a way to play legacy WoW content, but these private servers do, and that's what Nostralius was doing. They were offering vanilla WoW servers. So a lot of these companies that are releasing private servers, the big issue with a lot of them is they're not very good, and the ones that are half decent, they ask for a lot in return. For example, a lot of donations to keep the servers running, to keep the teams paid, and, not eating salt sandwiches all day, and ramen. So, the issue with some of these was, a lot of these servers were saying, okay, here's a cool idea. Let's have the people, the players, in order to have them maintain our servers, we'll give them in-game items if they donate. And that caused a lot of problems. Of course, a lot more people were donating, but it did lead to some balance issues. But Nostralius never did that, and it's all been donation-based, and they've had arguably the best emulation of the original vanilla WoW servers. There's a lot of stuff done on Blizzard's side for the MMO, and a lot of people have been trying to emulate that, but no one's really come any closer to Nostralius, and recently they handed off their code to Project Elysium, or the Elysium Project, excuse me. So what happened? Well, Blizzard issued the DMCA takedown, and Nostralius said, look, we'll take our stuff down, because a lot of these companies, they don't really comply with DMCA takedowns. A lot of these servers are hosted in entirely different countries at times, so it's not really worth the legal battle for Blizzard to go after these companies. It's not worth the backlash from the fans, especially. So Nostralius said, look, we'll take our servers down, but you guys got to at least consider adding in legacy WoW servers to your retail game. And we never really got an answer from Blizzard. I'm assuming that since BlizzCon was up and coming at the time, they really hadn't prepared for that. And I'm assuming they're still thinking about it, but that was the best chance Blizzard had to, at that following BlizzCon, the convention they do almost every year, saying, okay, look, we'll think about it, or hey, we'll probably do this, or we won't do it. And I have no issue with Blizzard really taking down servers from a legal standpoint because, hey, they're in the right to do that. It's their stuff. But at the same time, they gotta understand that people really want to play old school WoW, and they just haven't been providing that service. Because a lot of people playing vanilla WoW, they're not the same people who would be dodging a Legion subscription. So right now we're in the Slaughtered Lamb. I haven't come to this place in years. This is where Warlocks used to go primarily to get their demon pets. and right now we're level 20. We're going to be getting our succubus. I put about 30 hours into the private Elysium project server, and I gotta say, I had mostly a blast. The game is so much different than Legion, Cataclysm, and even from what I remember. I find all these little moments of just pure nostalgia oozing out of this game, and what's nice is that the Australia server is fairly accurate when it comes to emulating what Blizzard was originally doing. It's kind of amazing. Like, it feels like I'm playing something released by Blizzard themselves. Now you're noticing I'm level 20, but I don't have a mount. Yeah, that used to be a thing. You have to wait till level 40 to get your mount. Now Warlocks could just summon it and get a really cheap spell. I think it was like 40 or 50 silver or something like that. But other players, they had to get their riding training, then they had to buy the actual mount, and that would take up a slot in their inventory. And then for their epic mount, which was a faster mount, they would have to say something like up to like 500 gold or something like that, depending on your reputation with whoever you were buying it from. So if you're buying it from a faction that you were exalted with, you had the exalted reputation with, you would get a pretty good discount, but still was really expensive. 500 gold was something to sneeze at back in the day. Warlocks, of course, you had to do a really long chain quest, and if you didn't have someone to give you the items to fulfill that quest, well, you had to buy them yourself. There were these soulbound items that anyone in your party could use for you, and the items totaled to around 300-400 gold. Still have those items in my bank on my retail WoW character. I re-rolled a Warlock because I just wanted to re-experience the quests that were... I'm actually going the wrong way. I wanted to re-experience the Warlock quests, and a lot of what made WoW really cool to me, because there was always this excitement of exploring, adventure. The Warlock quests in particular, where you would go around the entire continent, getting your demons. Voidwalker, not too big of a deal. You know, you got it from, like, the basement of the Slaughtered Land. But Succubus, you went all the way to the Barrens, and then Ashen Vale. And then for your Fell Hunter, you went even to more places at level 40, or level 30, I believe. 30, yeah. And every 10 levels, really, as a Warlock, you would get something cool. So 10, you would get a Voidwalker. Before that, you would get your Imp. 20, you would get a Succubus, which is what I'm doing now. 30, you would get your Fell Hunter. 40, you would get your Mount. 50, you can get an Infernal, which wasn't too big of a deal back then, but it was still a really cool companion. It's not like a spell now that it just enhances your DPS. And then at level 60, you can, of course, get your Mount, or you can also get your Doomguard, which is really cool. And a lot of people will forget that Legion really, while it did add a lot to the game, and I feel like WoW is at a good position right now where, okay, you did change a lot in Cataclysm, but you've been trying to build upon that. And I think they have a really solid game right now. Legion has been delivering a lot of content, and I'm not against that at all. I think that Legion's pretty solid, and it's a good game. But in that time before Legion, before Warlords of Draenor, or even during Warlords of Draenor, when a lot of people were just not happy where the game was going, a lot of people still had that sweet tooth for the original WoW. So now we've come to a crossroads where you have WoW basically from vanilla to the tail end of Wrath, and then you have WoW from the beginning of Cata to Legion now. Completely different games. Alright, sorry about that. I had to cut really quick because of some video issues. But anyway, what I was getting at was, while I think Legion is a great game right now, I feel like it got that way because it was building off a lot of the success and learning from the mistakes of Cataclysm. A lot of people forget that WoW was incredibly imbalanced for the longest time, and I feel like now they're finally getting PvP and PvE down. And the problem they were always having was, okay, we're going to balance it, but all the classes are going to feel the same. And that was one of the advantages Vanilla WoW had over Legion. Now, when Vanilla WoW first came out, it was actually considered a pretty casual MMO because it was being compared to games like Final Fantasy XI and EverQuest. And, yeah, those games were pretty hardcore. But WoW was enticing because not only was it new, a little fresh, a little bit more interesting, but it was also like, hey, you don't have to spend thousands of hours just to get out of, you know, your starting area or whatever. It didn't feel like it was a slog to get through everything. And I'm not denying that, EverQuest and Final Fantasy XI were fun. I'm just saying that WoW is a lot more accessible to get into. So it's funny when people say, like, oh, WoW has gotten so much more casuals, it's appealing to the casual. That's kind of how WoW started out. And it's interesting to see it over the years becoming even more and more casual. But one of the things, and what I mean by it becoming more and more casual, is that they've really stripped out the RPG elements out of WoW. So like I was saying, how classes had to be balanced so they wouldn't feel the same, but they were also, again, balanced. In vanilla WoW, they had this idea of these talent trees. Now, to be honest with you, the talent trees are very, very boring. I mean, compared to Legion, they're incredibly boring. It's like, percentage damage, and sometimes it gives you a new spell, like your Curse of Exhaustion. Yeah, remember this? Yeah, some of these are, like, long since removed from the game, but this entire talent tree system is completely removed. But what was cool about this was you had multiple builds for different classes. Yeah, the classes were never very well balanced. Yeah, some classes just, one expansion later could end up being overpowered or completely sucking, and you were at the mercies of Blizzard at all times in an endless cycle because PvP was always unbalanced up until really pretty much Legion and Pandaria, where they had to overhaul it twice. But it was interesting because you had all these different builds and all these different ways of playing your class. Legion was able to make every class kind of feel the same, but they also balanced it in a way where they weren't overpowered, but they still play a little bit differently compared to other expansions. Whereas WoW Vanilla, they were wildly different. Wildly different. Stuttering, man. But I feel like the RPG elements have been stripped out of the game over the years. For example, just the roleplay elements in general. In Stormwind, we don't have an area like the park anymore. The park in Stormwind, some of you guys don't even remember this. This over here would just be the Stormwind Harbor. But the park was this cool little area where you didn't have a lot of NPCs. You had a bunch of empty, like, taverns, bars, shops, and players could just go in there and pretend to be merchants and just roleplay. When, like I was talking about my Warlock quests, when you had the Doomguard spell, the way you would summon that is you would need a group of 5 people, including yourself, and you would click this little ritual stone, and one person would die, but the Doomguard would be summoned. WoW used to have a lot of really cool roleplay elements out of the box, and doing stuff like getting your Infernal quest, like, a lot of people just didn't do it because it was kind of boring, and they didn't feel like it gave much benefit, but a lot of people, like myself, did, because we wanted to explore, we wanted to see content, and it was just a little cool reward. Sure, I barely used my Infernal in raids, but I still thought it was worth it. Getting my Doomguard, same thing. It was really cool to have those things. And the effort to go and get my demons to travel the world, that exploration, that was something I really liked. And I'm enjoying that now, where I'm going to places in Vanilla WoW that I probably wouldn't go to. I'm armed with the knowledge of, playing Burning Crusade WoW, so I'm familiar with a lot of these areas. But I wouldn't be revisiting them had I not gotten these demon quests that would send me around the world. I would just go to, the essential quest areas, and that's it. Because I have to do these demon quests, I'm going to places and being like, oh yeah, I remember, oh, that's cool. I remember this place. This place I actually don't remember. Now, it's Meniful Harbor. This is in Cataclysm, I believe. I think it was destroyed or something, part of it was. But it's funny because you actually take the ship from this place to, I believe, Darkshore, Ashenvale, or something like that. And this is actually how you get your Succubus for the Alliance side. And I actually went to Stranglethorn Vale. So I went all the way down to the Barrens for my Succubus quest the first time. And now I'm just kind of taking the easy way over here. But that's what's interesting about WoW, Vanilla WoW, is that, okay, you could play the game in all these different ways, and you would still get a good experience out of it. And I don't know, man. I feel like Legion has kind of removed a lot of the exploration and a lot of the mystery, and even though I've already played the game, I'm still getting a lot of that mystery, a lot of the nostalgia back, and it also helps that the game's running, as you can tell, amazingly. When WoW first launched, it didn't run too well on even the best systems at the time, and the netcode was still, there was much to be desired there. But what's cool is, okay, I'm playing basically WoW Vanilla HD, widescreen, over 300 frames per second, great internet connection, and actually that was a lot of the problem with the raids, especially in Naxxramas, where the Kel'Thuzad fight, there were so many demons on screen, people were getting disconnected left and right, they were lagging like crazy, they were having slowdowns, their computers were just crying. So I think it's going to be interesting. Now, they're doing something, Project Elysium, they're doing something called progression servers. So right now, I believe they're at Blackwing Lair, and next is going to be, I think, a PvP update, and then Zul'Gurub, and then they're going to release, AQ, and then Naxxramas. And Naxxramas is probably going to come around by 2018. So it's interesting to see how this will hold my attention, how it'll hold other players' attention. Apparently they need a lot of money to keep the servers up and running, but they have fulfilled those donations, the player base has, and guys, I'm really enjoying this. It's kind of hard to keep up with it because it takes a lot of time to play the game. Like, you have to be dedicated, but at least for the first 30 hours, I finally know the answer, was Vanilla WoW better? And in some ways, I have my answers in that it wasn't worse. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't all nostalgia. There were some genuinely good things in Vanilla WoW that were removed over time. Sure, the questing, I feel, was a lot better, a lot more fun in Cataclysm, but it was also harder in WoW, in Vanilla WoW. There was a lot more challenge. And I feel like that's pretty much the key reason for people's anger against Blizzard, is that the challenge from WoW has been watered down. It's not been as interesting, it's not been as fun, it's not been as interesting to really explore everything, and I don't know. Anyway, guys, that's my long-winded rant on Vanilla WoW. I really enjoyed my time playing on the Elysium server. Do give it a shot. I recommend playing the PvE server. I believe it's Darrowshire. Don't do the PvP because with the player counts, you'll get killed every 5 seconds. But there is a fresh start PvP server. Currently, we're on the Blackwing Lair part of the build for WoW. So, yeah, anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much for watching. I'm out.